Hey everyone, welcome to Play Hooky with me. My name is Roz, and today I want to share the continuous join as you go technique. This is similar to a join as you go that I shared recently, but in this variation we'll be using just one color, one skein. The beauty of this is that you end up with only two ends to weave in when you're all finished. The tail from the beginning and the tail at the end. But what's funny about this technique is that it's way easier to do than it is to actually describe how to do it. But I'm going to do my best to simplify this into 3 easy steps so you'll be well on your way to continuously joining as you go. As always, there are timestamps below so you can jump to your point of interest. I think that's about it, so let's just go ahead and get started. When you have your granny squares ready, you're going to start your first row of your blanket. So for example, if you're working on a 4x5 throw blanket, typically that would be about 12 to 15 squares, right, to get started. For this video, I'm only going to be doing the first 3 for that row, but just imagine you're going to do the width of your blanket. Because I'm right-handed, I'm working from right to left, so my first square will be here, and then I'll move to the left. And like I said earlier, you'll just continue on until you hit 12 to 15. We're going to start in the top corner of that first square, and we're going to work 2 sides. We're just going to be doing a row, our typical granny cluster row. Then we're going to join to square 2 and work 3 sides. Then we're going to join to square 3 and work 3 sides again, and so on until you've done your whole row. Once you've finished your complete row, you need to get back to square 1. So we're just going to finish off all the way back to square 1. We're not going to finish it, we're not moving up, we're stopping there. We're leaving that open. That's row 1 completed. We're good to go. Now we're going to start row 2. 4, 5, 6, and so on. So now we're just simply going to attach that 4th square. Work the first 2 sides like we did with row 1. Come over and join to the 5th square. Join, working 3 sides. Join, work 3 sides. This is all attaching together. And then when you're finished with that row, you come all the way back and stop. You leave that open again. You'll keep this open for the entire blanket. We're just working our way down. Okay, 7, 8, 9. And we just repeat this. 2, 3, 3. Come all the way back. So you'll continue to do this for your entire blanket, and then when you're all finished, you're going to have this open side. And you're simply going to come back up, join, and finish. I'm not going to be using the black that you saw at the beginning of the video. I know that'll be very hard for you to see the stitches as we're working on this tutorial. So I'm going to use this pretty fuchsia instead. So to get started, this is a very important tip. Do a full corner to start. Some crocheters like to only work the half corner, but I'm suggesting that you do your full corner first. You'll always have that as a quick reference to see which direction you're working in, because we're going to be working from the top down. If you're dead set against doing a full corner to begin with, go ahead and get yourself a stitch marker and just place that very first corner that you're starting in. So we're working row 1, chain 3, work your first granny cluster with its corner. I like to chain 2 in my corners. You may prefer chaining 3. If you're finding that your corners are curling up and you've been using a chain 2, just switch to a chain 3 and you should see that calm down and go back down. Now I don't like to do chains between my clusters. I'm going to start right into this space here with my next cluster, but if you like to chain one between your clusters, go ahead and do that now and work your next granny cluster. We're just working as we normally would. I'm assuming here that you're familiar with the granny clusters and the granny squares, so I'm not going to do a lot of talking between this bit. We're just going to be working the first two sides. I'm working my corner. Time to finish side two, but I'm not going to complete my granny here. I'm just going to go all the way down and just do half of that corner. Okay, I'm at my corner, so I'm just going to do half of it. Okay, before we continue on, I want you to see what's happening. There's my marker. That is my very first corner and my first tail. I've done half of my corner. I'm going to go ahead and chain two like I normally would. Chain three if you like 3 chains. Now instead of finishing that corner, it's time to join. I'm bringing in my next square, square number 2, and I'm going to join into this corner. Yarn over, now join to that corner with a double crochet. Two more double crochets. Okay, again, let's have a look. This is what you have. That chain 2 is serving for both of these corners now, so just leave that there because now we're going to start joining up. At this point, it's just a typical join as you go. You're going to be slip stitching into the spaces in between your clusters. Okay, I just did a slip stitch into that little space. Now I'm going to do a double crochet into the next space. Join with a slip stitch in that space. And then create your next granny cluster. We're just mirroring the clusters so they match. Okay, we're joining in between the clusters with a slip stitch. Okay, now we're at a corner. So we're going to start the first half of our corner. Okay, we've done the first half of our corner, and now we're going to attach to this corner. If you like to work with 3 chains, chain 1, slip stitch, chain 1. If you like to chain 2 like I do, then go ahead and slip stitch and then chain 1. Chain 1, and now I'm going to finish that corner. Okay, we still have our marker here to show us that we're working from top to bottom. I've just joined that first side, and now I'm going to work these 2 sides. We're just going to do it the same as we did before. We're going to work this side fully, come down, and work only half of the corner with a chain 2 to get ready to join our next. So I'm going to work this side, and then I'll meet you down at this corner. Okay, you should have something that looks like this. We're getting ready to bring in our third square. Remember, we're working row 1. We're going to join by adding a corner here, just half of the corner. Yarn over, working into a corner, double crocheted, finish that corner or that half of that corner. Okay. Now we're just going to repeat what we've been doing. We're working 3 sides again. Remember, the first square was 2 sides, and the rest of the row will always be 3 sides. I want to show you another tip here with the joining. If you don't want to do the slip stitching, just go into that space, pull that loop through, and call it done. I've seen some people do this and it looks really stress-free. If you do it like that, you will have a loop at the front, but if it's making your life a lot easier, then why not give that a try? Okay, so I'm working my next cluster here. And I will meet you here at this corner. I'm back up to the corner, so I'm going to start by doing half of that corner. I'm going to join. Again, if you like to chain 3, go ahead and chain 1, slip stitch, chain 1. I'm going to go ahead and just slip stitch and then just chain 1 and finish that corner. Okay, so now I'm just going to continue on working the 3 sides. We just did 1 side. Now we're going to do side 2 and come down to side 3, and I will meet you here. Okay, I'm back down to the corner and I'm just doing half of the corner, chaining 2. We have what looks like this. Now let's pretend that we've gone our whole row 1. So like I was saying earlier, if you're doing a 4x5, you may have about 12 to 15 squares that you've done this for that first width side. So it's time to start getting ready for round 2. So what we want to do is we want to get back over here. So we're simply going to just continue down this edge. So let's do that. So we're not joining any more squares. We're finished with row 1. We're just going to complete our corner like we normally would for our grannies. And now we have these little clusters here to contend with, and I'll show you how to work that. So let's just work our way towards this first one. Just doing our normal granny clusters. So we're going to treat this like a corner. So we need to finish this corner, right? So we're going to do our 3 clusters. If you like to do 3 chains in your corners, I would suggest that you chain 2 and then slip stitch into this space here. Or you can single crochet into this space here if you want it to be a little bit looser. You're just trying to complete that chain 3 that you would normally do. If you do 2 chains in between like I do, I'm just going to chain 1 and then do a single crochet into this corner. That will serve as my chain 2 for this corner. I'm going to chain 1 again and do the same thing for this corner. Finish it with our 3 DCs. And so you'll have something that looks like this. Okay, let's keep going. So we do our 3 doubles. And like I said earlier, if you like to do chain 3s in your corners, chain 2 and then slip stitch into this space, or single crochet into this space, your choice. If you like to do chain 2s in your corners, go ahead and chain 1 and then do a single crochet or a slip stitch into that space, whichever you like. We're getting ready to do this next side and this next corner, so I chain 1 and then finish that corner. Okay, continue on. Okay, we're at our corner. Let's just look real quick. Again, I like to use that very first corner that I made to see where I need to flip this to get back on track. Now we're going to work this next corner. We're not going back up. This is going to stay free. Remember, that's staying open. So 3 DCs. Chain 2 or chain 3, whichever you like. And now we're bringing in row 2. So we're going to do the same thing as we did with row 1. We're just bringing in row 2 now. So it'll be 2 sides, and then the rest of that row, it will be 3 sides. So I've chained my 2. Getting ready to work a corner. So I yarn over. Do my first double crochet for that next square, and we are attached. Okay, let me show you again what we're looking like. Again, this is why I love this, because then I can quickly make sure that's in my top corner. And here we go. So now we're just going to join as we've been, and then I'll meet you here at this corner. And remember, if you're having problems slip stitching, just go ahead and pull that loop through, and then continue with your clusters. Okay, we're coming up to our first corner here where we're going to be attaching to these other squares above us. So just work your corner like you normally would, just half of it. Let's go ahead and do your 3 doubles. If you were working chain 3s, I would suggest you chain 1, slip stitch, and then come back in to finish your corner. Or you can slip stitch, chain 1. You're just trying to get that 3 happening, right? For me, I'm only working 2 chains, so I'm going to slip stitch into this one and slip stitch into that one to get my 2. 1, 2, and then finish my corner. You'll have something that looks like this. So we're getting ready to finish this side. Just like we did for the first row, we're working the first 2 sides. And so we're just going to work our way down. Do half of the corner. Chain 2. Okay, and you have what looks like this now. There's our marker. Get it back up there, see where we are. Bring in your next square, and you're just going to continue on like you've been. Yarn over, create your first corner. With 3 clusters. Okay, slip stitch, or just do that little loop attachment that I showed you, and continue, and I'll meet you up at that top corner. Okay, so we are back to a corner. I'm going to complete one side of this corner before we attach. Working my first half with 3 double crochets. Okay. So now we have something that looks like this. If you are working with 3 chains for your corners, just slip stitch, slip stitch, slip stitch. For me, I'm only using 2 chains, so I'm going to work across to the one on the diagonal here, and then the one above. There's 1, there's 2, and then finish. You can really play with those corners. There's really not a right way to join those. Just play with it and see. For my regular join as you go, I just join in the diagonal corners. So just play with it and see which kind of joining you like. I'm doing it like this just to make it look a little tighter. Okay, and we're back to our normal routine here. So I'm going to work 3 sides. Remember, the very first square, we're only working 2 sides. The rest of the row, we're working 3 sides. So I'm going to go across, join, and go down. Coming back to a corner, we're still working row 2, so we're just going to do half, chain 2, because we're getting ready to join again. There's my marker to get me back to the top right corner. And here we go, we're going to bring in our next one. So as you can see, that's it. Just remembering to do 2 sides for the first square, 3 sides for the rest of the row. Just as a quick reminder, we're back onto the edge corner here. We're done with our complete row 2, done half. Now we're going to attach, slip stitch with 2 chains or 1, whichever you like. And we're going to finish this last side. Okay, and so we finished row 2, right? So now we need to get our way back to the beginning of row 2. So we're going to finish this complete corner and work our way all the way back down. And this is what you're going to do for every single row for your blanket until you are finished and have reached the length of your blanket. At the corner. So let's say we were getting ready to work row 3. We're working our first half of our corner, chain 2. And then we would get things ready to attach, right? We would just repeat what we've been doing for our previous rows. We just work that corner and work our way across as we've been doing. But let's pretend now that we have finished our blanket. We've done the blanket to our length. So we're simply just going to complete this corner since we're finished, and work our way all the way back to the start. Finish that corner. Work our way down. Okay, so we're coming back to one of these corner spaces, and it's exactly like we were doing over here. Same thing on this side. We just make half of our corner. I like to work with 2 chains for my corners, so I'm chaining 1 single crocheting into that space, chaining 1 for this next corner, and done. Again, if you were working with 3 chains, you could add an extra chain on each side, but again, play with that to see what looks good to you. And we're coming to the finish line. And slip stitch to complete. And you are all done.